What was your question?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Restart Real Talks with me, Jason Tardik. Today we have such a beautiful, most amazing guest we've had yet, and that's because she's my better half, and I am so wildly excited to have her here today and also have the honor of introducing her. But before I do that, I got to take a deep breath, because this introduction is pretty intense. So Kaitlyn Bristowe, who needs no introduction, but she is a former Bachelor star of season 19. She's the lead and Bachelorette of season 11, a former Broadway cast member of Home for the Holidays, a People's Choice Popcast nominee, host of Off the Vine, which also tours in North America, planning their third tour now. She's the owner of Do Edit, a women's scrunchie line, owner of Spade and Sparrows, which we are drinking the rosé right now, which is a wine label of hers, and she is just a successful, inspiring Canadian beauty that empowers women all over the world. It is an honor to have the one and only Kaitlyn Bristowe with me today, and we're actually in Off the Vine headquarters getting after it already. Kate, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that introduction. That was cute.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here. I think before we really get into some of the details of your career and what people don't know about you, and that's the purpose of today, right? The purpose of today is talking about what people don't know, how you found your path, when failure came your way, how you overcame it, and where you are today. But before we get into that, I want to talk about COVID-19, because those who follow you avidly know that you have generalized anxiety. So during this time, I mean, it's constant mayhem. It's pure conundrum. How has your anxiety been? And how has the whole process of being quarantined, the pandemic, seeing what's going on impacted you?
Well, you've seen it firsthand. I've been quite calm.
Yeah, you have been.
I'm better than what I thought I would be during a time like this. But I think that goes back to how I was as a kid. And I remember going through a really, really scary tornado in Edmonton, and I would pretend I was sleeping. And that's just how I would get through. I'd be like, it's not happening if I'm asleep. That was just my way of dealing with it. So during this time, I feel like I've been back and forth. I'm not sleeping as much through the nights. Like I wake up without fail at 4 o'clock in the morning every time with a bit of anxiety. But through the days, I've been kind of calm, because I think I'm able to work from home, still do what I need to do. I feel safe. I've got you and the dogs. Like, it's not the worst environment to be stuck in.
Yeah, I would say for sure that I have noticed that you've been very calm through this time. But one thing I have noticed is that in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and sometimes you won't even be there, because you've gone to the couch just to relax because you're having like these panic attacks midnight. Is that induced by what's going on, you think?
Yes. I think it's just I'm worried about family, friends. It's just staying in one place for so long will stress anybody out, especially with how scary everything is going on out there right now. So
yeah. And what's wild is that, so I was in New York. Well, Kaitlyn was in New York City. She came back. She was there for work, and then I went there for work. And it was the morning of Good Morning America. I was on Strahan Sarah's show, and I'm getting calls from home that Kaitlyn is like an absolute mess. 102-degree fever, coughing, sick, tired,
breathe,
shortness of breath. You had every single symptom. Now, this was March 11th. So this was right in the beginning. So I right after the show, I took a car to the airport, got home. Nothing was getting better. We went to the doctor. They diagnosed you with bronchitis. You got medication for it. And then 5 days later, things were getting worse. So we fought like hell to get Kaitlyn a test. We found a way to get Kaitlyn a test. That is actually covered in one of the episodes of Restart. And we were for sure certain that Kaitlyn had COVID-19, and you ended up testing negative for it, but positive for influenza A and bronchitis. So walk anyone through what it's like having all those symptoms at the pinnacle of what's going on, and just dealing with the emotions of that.
At that time, it wasn't as scary or bad as what it was later down the road or what it is now. So I think if this would have happened when we're seeing the, death tolls rise and all the awful stories that we're getting through media and everything, I think I would have been a lot more anxious. But it was in kind of the beginning where people were like, oh, young people can fight through it. I was not as anxious as I would be if I got it now, just because we didn't have the knowledge or the information that we do now. My heart always goes out to people that are going through it and don't have what we have, like work from home or a little family, like
for sure
to go through all that alone.
Let's talk positive about this whole quarantine process. I feel as though you and I are actually both working overtime. We've been going nonstop, early mornings, late night, doing stuff. So tell me how you've used this time to be productive, to not only work on yourself, but your businesses and also like giving back.
I got a Peloton bike, which has been saving me physically and mentally. We have a bike gang with my.
What's that called?
It's called Heaven's Devils, which is the opposite of Hell's Angels. So that's been keeping me busy. Also, obviously, we're relaunching Spade and Sparrows 2.0. Hopefully, that's going to be out in May. And working on the scrunchies at all times. Evan actually helped with an idea to possibly use fabric to make masks to help out. So we're having conversations around that. We always had this plan to launch one of my favorite edits, which is called the Your Wildest Dreams collection for scrunchies. And I was a little worried about doing that in this time because I didn't want to be pushing a product in like scary times. Sure. And so I did. I reached out to everybody that follows me saying like, is this something that would make you happy? Is there something we could do? We came up with the idea to donate part of the proceeds from the launch to go to Direct Relief, which supplies medical resources for doctors and nurses. So it was really nice to be able to still launch something I'm very passionate about while giving back and still being able to work from home. And then obviously podcasting has been so incredible during this time because I think everyone kind of wants to do interviews and talk and connect with each other, and we're able to put out entertainment for those who are at home and might need an hour break from their days to laugh and cry maybe sometimes.
Walk with me now to Kaitlyn Bristowe at 18 years old.
Ooh, she was a treat.
I'm sure.
18-year-old Kaitlyn, you did not want to know.
I am sure. So I want you to think. You got your 18-year-old self, and then you have yourself right now. And at 34, you have a wine label, a scrunchie label, a very well-downloaded, popular podcast. Really, the list can go on. But what I ask is, if you told your 18-year-old self that at 34 you're doing all that, what is your 18-year-old self saying back to you?
My 18-year-old confident self would have said, "You're damn right you are." That means the plan worked. So yeah.
All right. So I got to jump right in there. One, how did you have that confidence at 18? And two, what was the plan? Because at 18, I mean, I was just trying to get through one semester at a time at college and not, and just get my GPA over 3.0.
That's where you went wrong.
So
college.
tell me.
Just kidding. I had this mentality that when I was graduated high school, I was never going back to school again. And that could be very wrong to some people, or people could be like, that's embarrassing. But to me, I was a dancer. I was classically trained in ballet, jazz, tap, lyrical, modern, hip hop. I did it all. I danced 6 days a week, and that was going to be my kind of college because that's what I wanted to do. So I just knew school wasn't for me and that I would find a way. Anyone that was friends with me in that time, and even friends' parents, were always like, Kaitlyn just figures it out somehow. Like, I was never really worried about what I was going to fall back on. I just had this mindset of I would always get to where I need to go in some way or another. I like to give my family some sort of credit because they always supported me to do crazy things or to do things that I loved without like shaming me and being like, well, you really should get a better career out of this. Like they were like, no, you work that hostessing job and you know, do this and we'll help you out to achieve your goals. So I think I had the support and confidence from them to do what I wanted to do, which really helped. You have to not be afraid to fail. Failures are lessons that help you learn for next time. So you can't be afraid to learn life lessons by failing.
Let's talk about some of the difficult times at 18. And I know that we've discussed this before, but your best friend, your rock, Lindsay, is in a tragic car accident and passes away. So you're now dealing with this life change. You're going to go pursue dancing as your career. And your best friend, who's planning on going with you to Vancouver, passes away in a tragic accident. You know, what was that experience like? And what I'm curious is, how do you push through that, keep moving forward and pursuing everything that you did with such a tragedy at a young age?
Yeah, 18 is like the hardest year to like lose someone that is a rock to you. She was there for me through my parents' divorce. I actually lived with her for a little bit through that. We were best friends. She was one of my other first memories in life. She'd knocked on my door when she was 3 years old and asked to be friends. And we grew up next door to each other our whole lives. Our sisters were best friends. Our moms were best friends. And yeah, we were just, people like knew we were just attached at the hip. That was one of the hardest things I've ever to this day been through, is losing her. I was terrified to live after that. Like, I was scared to get in a car, and I was scared to go anywhere because I didn't want anything bad to happen, because it was just so devastating. But instead, I tried to switch my mindset a year later, because I knew she wanted to go to Vancouver, and I was like, I have this life to live. And she was cut short from that, and the least I could do was push through and go do things that other people don't have the opportunity to do.
I give you all the credit in the world for saying, through that time, I'm pushing through. I'm going to live the legacy that both her and I imagined, and go to Vancouver and kick some ass while doing it.
Yeah.
So for people out there that are in their pursuit of, let's say, music or anything in which you have to like try out or audition. So music, athletics, any actors, actresses, people that are auditioning. I've never done that before. So explain to me, what's that like to audition? What's the percentage or likelihood that you actually get called into something? And how do you make money trying to pursue something like that at an early age of what you love?
You definitely do not make money doing that at an early age. You don't get money for auditions, or in fact, you're spending money. But the audition process is an absolute grind. There were times where certain men were in charge, and they would pick the same girls that would, have inappropriate relationships with them. And those same girls would get the same jobs all the time. I still have friends in the dance world, and that's definitely changed, which is great to see.
Mr. Weinstein's gone.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, here's an opportunity for me to give a huge shout out to my mom and dad, because they helped me with rent and certain things. I mean, I also did work. I worked really hard, but I worked at a restaurant. Shout out to Earl's. I was an Earl's girl. I was a really, really good hostess, and they made me the head hostess, and I loved running the restaurant and like just being up there and greeting everybody. And I was a social butterfly at that time.
Business development, just working it?
Yes. So I always wanted to work my way up, but they did not want me to leave the front because I was a really good hostess. And I was 19 years old.
Okay.
And Blaine, my manager, said, "What do I need to do to keep you at the front door?" And I said, "Pay me what you make." And so they did.
In the restaurant industry, and while dancing, it's a grind. There's obviously a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of bullshit that goes into selecting who goes and who gets the gigs and who doesn't. What are your biggest takeaways as you're dancing, pursuing that part of your career, and in the restaurant business?
A big part of who I am was getting through that by still continuing to be true to who I was, because I could have, hung out with the wrong crowds and tried to work my way up in other areas. And I just always wanted to do the right thing. Like, I didn't want to sell myself short or sell myself out just to get a job. So, and this is a big thing for people who are scared to do what they love. Like, if you're doing what you love, that's when you're going to be successful. I believe that success will come to you because you'll be attracting better business partners, better people. You'll be doing what you love, so you'll work harder. And I just believe that if you're doing something you're passionate about, that's when money will come to you.
I think the two biggest lessons I've learned from this is that you can't be afraid of failure, right? That's number one. And number two is that you have to create your own path. You cannot let someone else, and for 10 years, I let other people lead my life. And I got damn lucky that I fell into a spot of where I did want to go. But also you have to put yourself in positions of luck, which I learned from Colton, to get lucky. Mm-hmm. But those are awesome takeaways.
But I think it's important to also say you can be afraid of failure. You just can't let it cripple you. You have to look at it through different lenses of seeing how you can learn a lesson from failure and use it next time.